Everything in this video looks like it belongs to a bygone era, but has in fact been reimagined for the present day. This is what happens when today's technology meets a vintage vision. This is the hub from Home & Hadfield and is a place to put your everyday carry gear when you get home, perhaps in your home office or by your bedside table as a nightstand. And in the walnut finish I have here, this wouldn't be out of place in an episode of Downton Abbey. Now, Home & Hadfield have a great range of storage and display options, mainly focused around watches and pocket knives, but it was this device storage solution that I was most keen to try. One thing you wouldn't see on Downton Abbey though is the charging ports. We have one for your phone and one for your earbuds. Now, it's a clever design because it uses your existing charging cables, which are clamped in place using a supplied Allen key. So this will work with Apple and Android and pretty much everything else. Underneath you have these channels to route the cables and hold them tightly in place, and you now have a neat and clutter-free solution for your devices. In addition, you get this watch post on which to place your watch, and there's no charging function in here. We have here a recessed felt pad, perhaps for jewelry or a pocket knife or a flashlight. We also have a small drawer here with 3 compartments for more privacy and less clutter. This is made out of solid wood and feels great quality, and the packaging it comes in is also very impressive, making this a great gift. And it's also available in black. And all things considered, the price to me seems very reasonable at around £70 or dollars. If like me you've always loved the Zippo lighter, not least for the retro vibe and the fidget factor, but also like me have never had really enough of an excuse to carry one daily, then this might be just what you're looking for. This is an insert for a classic Zippo lighter made by Zippo that replaces the lighter with a screwdriver kit. Now in here you get 4 bits. You get a number 1 and number 2 Phillips and a number 2 flathead and T20 Torx, but being of the standard 1/4 inch hex variety, you can always choose your most used bits, which you'll no doubt find kicking around somewhere in a toolkit. The bits are held in place magnetically and the reach is obviously quite short, and you couldn't really call it heavy duty, but I do think it's a really nice idea, and it does manage to retain the Zippo fidget factor. This insert will fit every classic Zippo, but obviously not the slim Zippos, and expect to pay around $15. Before our next item, I am delighted to welcome a new sponsor to the channel, and they are Vessi, and these are their new Soho sneakers. And there's more to these than meets the eye. Now, sneakers are what I pretty much wear all the time, usually with jeans or combats and with an emphasis on comfort. There is a problem though, and that is the weather. And by weather, I mean rain, and by rain, I mean lots of rain, because I happen to live in the UK. Now, I would never normally consider wearing sneakers or trainers if there was even a small chance of rain, because rain plus sneakers invariably equals wet feet, and I really hate having wet feet. So when the weather turns, I ditch the cool and comfortable footwear for something, well, a little more practical. Vessi shoes, however, are different. Despite how soft and comfortable these are and how great they look, they also happen to be 100% waterproof, and that is a game changer, because that means I can wear these whenever I want to wear them without ever having to second guess the weather. And I've been wearing these for a week solid now, come rain and shine, and they've not let me down. So embrace the perilous puddles, flooded roads and rain-soaked grass with dry socks and warm feet. It's like having a secret superpower. Your feet are kept dry using Vessi's patented Dymatex technology, offering breathability whilst maintaining the waterproof properties. And the gusseted tongue we see here on the Soho stops water coming into the shoe even when the toe area is completely submerged. We also have a grippy non-marking sole, a cushioning midsole and removable insole. And when it comes to lightweight or one bag travel, these are the perfect do-it-all footwear, and maybe the only shoes you need on your travels. Now Vessi have also applied their Dymatex technology to this overcast jacket, so this is also impermeable to water and breathable with a soft touch outer fabric and a fleece lining to keep in the warmth. And then there's Vessi's fleece lined knit gloves that are amazingly also 100% waterproof and breathable, again using Dymatex technology. Add palm grips and touchscreen compatibility and you have the perfect wet or winter weather gloves for both home and travel. I really like what Vessi are doing here, and if you're as excited as I am about the prospect of keeping dry, then head over to vessi.com/John Gadget to find out more and get 15% off your first order. I'll include that link in the description down below. So a big thank you to Vessi, and now back to the video. In 1862, the Union Pacific Railroad Company was born, and lamps like this one lit the company's yards and rolling stock and became known as the railroad lantern. Now, the original lanterns, which are now very rare, would use a wick and paraffin oil. This reinvented version from Barebones uses LED filament tubes and lithium ion batteries, so safer and brighter, but with the same fabulous retro industrial design, and I am a big fan. This uses vintage inspired seeded glass which refracts the light like old glass might have done back in the day, and the metal cage here protects the glass from getting broken, which even if it does can actually be replaced. The lamp feels really solid and is well made, and actually is bigger than I was expecting, which is no bad thing, and weighs in at a hefty 900 grams. Now the filament LED tubes here, of which there are 4, give out a warm light which creates a cozy atmosphere like the original would, albeit without the flickering flame. The brightness of the lamp can also be adjusted using the control on the side here, which would have raised the wick in the original lamp, and you simply rotate it and it turns the lamp on with a click, and then it adjusts the light level from a low glow with 100+ hour runtime on a single charge up to this bright light level with a more modest 3.5 hour runtime. And I really like the simplicity of this. No color changing, no flashing lights, and sometimes less is more. We have a handle to allow it to be carried easily or to be hung from something, and a rubber grip on here, which is a nice practical detail. And the cage ring on the base here means it's super stable when sat on any flat surface. The top unscrews here if you do need to replace the glass, and on the base we have a USB-C charging socket and also a very useful battery level indicator with 4 LEDs which stay on with the light, so you can always see at a glance how your battery is doing, and these LEDs also help to show the charging status. Access to the battery is easy. Simply rotate the base, which comes away, and it reveals this double 18650 battery, and I've not seen one of these before, and I expect it's bespoke to Barebones. And this battery has a capacity of 4400 milliamp hour. I bought this one in grey with a black cage, but you could also choose a more vintage looking antique and copper option, or olive green and zinc, or even white. This for me is a great option for lighting up, say, a large tent, or for outdoor gatherings, and particularly outdoor eating. You can imagine this sat on the table, and it's also a great room light in the event of a power cut. Now I can't find an IP rating for this lamp anywhere, but it looks to me like it should easily be showerproof. Expect to pay around £85 or $100, and as usual I'll include links to everything featured in the description down below. This is a reinvention of the hip flask, which has been around for hundreds of years, and the more familiar curved shape was designed to allow it to be concealed in a pocket or a boot, and was especially popular during Prohibition in 1930s America. This version is from Wingback in the UK and is a bit more bold, so perhaps more coat pocket or bag, but the unusual shape here brings with it some really useful advantages. For example, it is much easier and quicker to fill without spilling because you've got a much wider neck. It's also easy to see how much you have left, and it's much easier to clean, and in my view looks fantastic too. And if you need something a little bit more refreshing, you have instant access to a cap lifter here too. This is precision made with some nice laser engraving detail and comes with this rather understated but nice cloth bag. Wingback are a favourite of the channel, making high quality handmade carry gear in the UK that will last a lifetime, and that does come at a price. Prices start at £130 for this stainless steel version. Here we have a pocket compass from Marbles, a simple and effective navigation device that has been around in various forms for over 2,000 years. Now, if you're lost in the great outdoors, this could save your life, or at least stop you walking around in circles. And a quick glance can confirm your orientation in any situation, and this of course will outlast and outsurvive just about any piece of technology you can find. And as any pilot or sea captain knows, there's always a magnetic compass in view for when all else fails. Marbles have been making compasses for over 100 years, and they have routinely been pinned on GI bomber and flight jackets in every American conflict since World War II. This one sits in a case that is precision machined from brass for extra protection. It's also waterproof and will not rust, and up-to-date manufacturing techniques have created a movement that rotates on an ultra-smooth agate bearing housed in crystal, which is virtually shatterproof. And we have an easy to read black dial and green luminous letters with a keyring loop here that can be removed if preferred. This is time-tested tradition with modern technology that could help get you home when everything else lets you down. Expect to pay around £17 or dollars. For our knife selection, we turn to Italian knife maker Fox and their Stag 6 multi-purpose folding knife, and this was really a pleasant surprise when it arrived. And if you're looking for a Victorinox alternative and prefer the retro aesthetic, then this is really worth a look. It feels very solid in the hand with these substantial genuine Stag antler scales, and it weighs in at 102 grams or 3.6 ounces. Now if I put it alongside a 91mm Victorinox, you can see it is quite a bit longer and it's also quite a bit thicker, but that extra thickness is entirely down to the thickness of the scales on the Fox. Everything here is really nicely finished with what looks like brass pins holding everything in place, of which the larger pin heads are ground down and polished to match the unique contours of the scale, so it looks like some real effort has gone in here. We have a keyring loop here through which a basic leather strap is threaded, which is a nice detail, and you get a really nice belt holster with this too. Leather with the Fox logo on, custom molded for this knife with heavy duty stitching. It's tapered in shape, and for that reason it grips the knife really well and is pulled free using the leather strap. It's the main drop point blade though that really sets this knife apart, and that's because of the steel. It uses a high-end Bowler M390 steel with a great set of properties, most notably great edge retention, and this is in a different league to Victorinox steel and great to see on a knife like this. The blade length is just under 3 inches in length, and it's a slip joint and therefore legal to carry in most places, including the UK. Looking at the other tools, we have here a really nice small pen blade. We also have a can opener and a bottle opener and flathead screwdriver. On the opposite side, we have a corkscrew, and incidentally, this will take a Victorinox eyeglass screwdriver. And then we have this rather unusual needle tool. Now, there's no bladed edge here, so this won't work well as a scraper or a reamer like we see with the Victorinox equivalent. And this seems just focused on heavy duty sewing, which I feel is a bit of a lost opportunity, although it does fit the outdoor camp feel of this particular knife, as in fact does the corkscrew and the can opener, which in other settings would feel a bit dated. There are a couple of other models in the range. One adds a saw to create a third layer, which adds to the outdoor credentials, and the other adds the saw and then scissors to create a fourth layer. and as much as I love scissors on my knife, it is starting to get a bit bulky at this point in my view. All in all, a great knife with a vintage look and a modern capable steel, and the quality on offer here really does shine through, and that obviously reflects in the price. Not too bad, I would say, but you can expect to pay around $110 or pounds for this 2-layer option. If you like the vintage feel but wanted something a bit more affordable, then the Rough Ryder Coal Miner here is a great option, and the price is one of the strongest features because this comes in at just £20 or dollars, and you do get a lot for your money, not least this fantastic vintage design. The scales here are made from bone, jigged bone in fact, which I think denotes the patterning we see on here, which certainly adds to the grip. We also have a Rough Ryder shield built into the scales, and we have brass pins and brass liners, giving an overall weight of 108 grams or 3.7 ounces, which is what you would call a bit weighty. We have 2 blades here, both under 3 inches, using a traditional slip joint and so carry friendly in most places. Firstly, we have this chunky sheep's foot blade, and then we have a smaller spear point blade. And you'll notice the nail nicks in both have serrations inside, and these are called match strike pulls. And as you might have guessed, are used as a striker for a match. A pointer, no doubt today's when smoking was considered to be a healthy option to help banish colds. The blade steel used here is 440A, which is okay, but certainly not the best, and I guess you can't really complain at the price. So all in all, a great looking, vintage inspired and super affordable pocket knife. Regular viewers will know my everyday carry pocket flashlight of choice is the Rovyvon A8. So what better choice for a nod to vintage than this lovely copper Rovyvon A9. Now, copper is a material that is synonymous with Victorian Britain. It was cheap and easily accessible and easy to fabricate, and found its way into almost every facet of life, from copper pots to copper pipes, copper switches and copper everything else. Now, copper will develop a unique patina over time when exposed to the air, which is part of the vintage appeal, and explains why this A9 arrives vacuum packed. With the A9 we have instant access to full power, which is 650 lumens and is an awful lot for a light of this size and bright enough to light up a house. Then we have moonlight mode at 0.5 of a lumen, which will run for 72 hours on a single charge, and there are 2 light levels in between. We also have a strobe and a lockout mode. The A9 here will light the path ahead of you for 8 hours non-stop to get you home, although I use it more for walking the dog and finding stuff at the back of an unlit cupboard. This version is 4th generation and is the best yet, introducing USB-C fast charging, which only takes an hour, and new easy to use operation. Expect to pay around £43 or $50 for this copper version. This is the Wingback Fountain Pen. Now, the fountain pen was the writing instrument of choice for 200 years or more until the biro was invented in the late 1930s. And despite the obvious success of the ball pen, the fountain pen still to this day delivers a unique writing and drawing experience that people love. The Wingback Fountain Pen, which is machined from a solid block of aerospace grade stainless steel with this diamond knurled grip, has a functional engineering vibe which I really like. It utilises standard cartridges for convenience and is reassuringly heavy. Now, with the cap removed, the shorter lighter pen feels more nimble for sketches and quick notes, and when the cap is screwed onto the rear of the pen, the extra weight invites a slower and more considered writing and drawing experience. There are O-rings deployed to ensure the ink doesn't dry out, and I found the pen can be left for weeks untouched and yet writes instantly when needed without having to shake it all about first. Wingback strapline is buy once, keep forever, and this fountain pen seems like a great example of that philosophy. It comes in this understated but functional cloth sleeve and costs around £110. When it comes to picking a wallet with a nod to the past, then the Crazy Horse Craft wallet featured in our recent budget battle seems like an obvious choice. And it so happens they also do a matching key holder too. Now this looks like it could have been carried at any point in the past, or at least over the past 150 years, which is when the press stud was first invented. This wallet starts life as a flat piece of leather and cleverly folds to form a compact wallet with a quick access card pocket and also a coin pouch, and they're held in place with a single brass press stud. And then under this flap here, which is held in place with two press studs, we have a third pocket, and this is for cash or bulkier items, and it also gives access to the other two pockets as well. And if carrying cards are totally your thing, this will hold 12 with ease. The soft leather used here is vegetable tanned and has a lovely aroma and a tactile feel, and there's no glue or stitching to be found, so very little to go wrong. So simple, neat and functional, and it has to be said sensibly priced too at just £30 or $35. The key case is more of the same. It folds together from a flat piece of leather and is held in place, in this case with one brass press stud and the brass keyring shackle here. Now this creates two separate compartments, each of which can take a couple of keys, and you can even fit the bulkier 5-litre mortise lock key in here too. The fold over flap keeps everything in place, silencing the jangle, and keeps your keys away from your phone screen. You could even store a couple of emergency banknotes in here, or something like this Alox Bantam pocket knife. As for the price, expect to pay around £22 or $29. Now, if you want to see some great everyday carry gear that hasn't changed and is still available to buy today, then you need to see this video right here. That's it for this one. Thank you as always for watching, and I hope you can join me in the next one.